We are arguably living in the most abundant, prosperous, and peaceful era in human history. And yet, everywhere you look, people are tired, anxious, depressed, and disconnected from themselves and the world around them. One of the biggest health problems today, too much food. Obesity is now the norm. Imagine saying that to anyone before the 1900s. At some point, you have to ask, why? Maybe the answer isn't more pills or a new pharmaceutical. Maybe the solution lies not in the future, but in the past. Maybe we need to go back to the way we were designed to live. Nature, whole foods, movement, sunrise, sunset, hikes, animals, community. This week I challenged myself to align with the natural order, to rise with the sun, to move how my body was made to move, to eat food that comes from the earth, not a lab, to be conscious of the food cycle and our relationship with nature. Because this isn't just about health. It's about remembering how we evolved to live. It's about returning to something sacred. It's about living in accordance with nature. Ladies and gentlemen, Grand Rising. So, as our ancestor did, the first thing I want to do when I wake up is be surrounded and in nature, connected, barefoot, on the grass, on the soil, in the ocean. Preferably that would be amazing, but obviously I'm not at the ocean right now. And then I want to be able to sun gaze, okay, to set my circadian rhythm, to stare at the sun. But as you can see, the sun in Mother Nature is not allowing us to do so this morning. So I'm doing my best, and I'm attempting to sun gaze. But the main idea for, getting out as soon as you wake up, obviously I did shower already, but, you want to set your circadian rhythm. You want to essentially tell your body, okay, let's wake up. How do we do that? It's only really two ways. Move your body and set your circadian rhythm, which is light information coming into your eyes and telling your body to do things. When you are getting a certain type of light spectrum into your eyes, especially in the morning when it was so dark, you wake up, boom. You want to just get a certain type of light, which is the sun. I mean, you can definitely use like a blue light or something, but it's definitely going to shock your body. You want to stare at the sun first thing in the morning, when it just like rises, so that you can tell your body, okay, let's stop producing melatonin, let's start producing cortisol, epinephrine, let's wake up. That's the main thing. When you do that, your body works in a 24-hour clock, okay? So it's called your sleep-wake cycle. A lot of process in your body works on a 24-hour clock. And one of those things is that your circadian rhythm, which is directly influenced by light. So that's why late in the evening, you'll see I completely remove any blue light. So red light mixes the sunrise and sunset, which is very forgiving light, okay? Whereas the blue light, which is midday light, is very bright, it's very overwhelming, and that essentially tells your body the sun is up, it's in the middle of the day, we need to wake up. That's essentially what we're doing there. And so when you are viewing that in the late evening before you go to bed, it's obviously terrible for you, but we'll get into that in the later part of this video. And the reason why I want to get grounded is because it's a slow start to the day, and it feels right, it feels peaceful. I don't know how to explain it. You feel connected with Mother Nature. Just give it a try. I'm very surprised as when I was start doing this, it definitely made me feel more in harmony with Mother Nature, and definitely started stressing a bit less. And I want to read something to you that I wrote about stress. So primal stress that our ancestors faced, okay? Our ancestors experienced acute stress, like escaping a predator or finding food. These bursts of stress were short-lived, and after the immediate danger passed, their stress levels returned to normal. The body fight or flight response worked in harmony with their lifestyle. Modern stress. In today's world, stress is constant and often chronic. Entrepreneurs face pressure related to business, finances, deadlines, social expectations. I'm not who I'm supposed to be, relating or comparing myself to everyone on social media. Remember, like social media, I'm in that game as well. You tend to just show the best parts of your life, glimpses. That is what social media is for, okay? It's to essentially brag about what's happening in your life, okay? Or documenting the journey or whatever. Like, that's why I think this is so valuable, because I'm trying to share as much as I possibly can, The chronic stress leads to long-term health issues such as burnout, anxiety, hormonal imbalance, and cognitive decline. Now, let me give you a challenge. Try and be stressed, okay? First thing in the morning when you wake up and you touch grass like this. It's almost impossible. There's definitely obviously some thoughts coming up like, I need to finish this project, I need to see this email, something's happening with my taxes right now I need to figure out. So obviously that's still lingering in my brain, but being connected with Mother Nature, my beautiful car, just being here barefoot in the grass, this is something I try and do every morning now. Alright, so movement. arguably one of the most important pillars of health. And yeah, I'm a big advocate for movement in general, but obviously hitting the gym specifically, okay, that's amazing. But I think it gets most of the attention when it comes to movement, and I mean rightfully so. Okay, it's very important to build strength, but also we do need to realize that it's very limiting, and we are building strength and putting XP points in a movement, in a certain type of movement, in a linear movement. Have you ever seen these big bodybuilders like running, right? Tend to be very stiff. Their body tends to be very limiting when it comes to certain movements. And yeah, we as humans and essentially as a certain type of animal, we have evolved to participate in certain movements. We used to be big runners, or sprinters actually. We used to be sitting, squatting, be on our knees a lot. Movements that are very limited in today's day and age, you know. If you look at some of these cultures, like the Chinese cultures, Asian cultures, you know, beautiful people, they get really old. And I really think it's partly, well, there's a couple of reasons for that, but I think their physical vessel is extremely healthy. And part of that being, you know, they do this a lot. Like they will sit like this, just sit like this. Like how long can you even do this, you know? It's a very simple movement, but just be in this position, or sitting on your knees like this, or, you know, just doing stuff like this. Like every single day, I do this in the shower a lot, but just move your body, you know. Like I'm a big advocate for walking, or obviously with barefoot as well, as you can see. And like I think that's very crucial. Hit the gym, get strong with weights as well, of course, to build a strong, healthy vessel. You know, you do need to be strong and exercise with weights, but obviously walking is crucial. Go outside. There's so many things that you can habit stack it with. Listen to stuff to get smarter, okay? Podcasts, audiobooks, stuff like that. Be outside. It's obviously very cold right now, so I'm not doing it without a shirt, but you can do it without a shirt to sun max. You're getting sunlight, fresh air. I'm grounding barefoot on the grass, doing some stretching here. I'll do some pull-ups there, even maybe even to the tree. But yeah, so much beautiful things that you can do when you're just outside walking. And yeah, I think hitting the gym is very important, but it's just half of the game. You know, you want to be stretching, doing your cardio, like walking, stuff like that. Very important. You know, our people, our ancestors, you know, tend to just be outside. We didn't have cars and like stuff like that. We had horses, you know, like that was the main thing. But other than that, we walked everywhere, we sprinted everywhere. And you know, there's a lot of beautiful things that comes with the modern day and age, but there's also a lot of cons with being disconnected with our natural life. You know, if we're not utilizing our body, we're gonna lose that function. And yeah, it's so beautiful to be able to just do all these pull-ups, to just feel good in my vessel. You know, I want to be at 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years old and still be squatting, doing pull-ups. Like if you're doing 10 pull-ups a day, you're not gonna one day just not be able to do it, you know. So yeah, I think it's such a beautiful thing. Peep the natural clothing. Got this in KwaZulu-Natal here in South Africa. 100% cotton, 100% cotton pants. Let me do some pull-ups for you guys. See, is this bronze good? Movement in the sun, in nature, barefoot, 100% linen cotton clothing. This is the name of the game. What a beautiful, beautiful day. I think exercise in general will solve so many different problems in life, because you know, if you have a lot of like mental problems or struggling to think correctly, or you know, brain fog, or you know, maybe some forms of anxiety or depression, or feeling a lack of discipline, lack of purpose, you know, all these things can be at least improved, even if it's slightly. You know, when you start devoting yourself to a physical practice, I really want to give flowers where flowers are due. You know, hitting the gym consecutively for a couple of years now, there was nothing that has had such a dramatic influence on my life like hitting the gym has. Okay, I might be sounding like your average gym bro, but there's something beautiful about taking control of one's life by, you know, taking life by the balls and be like, you know what, I might not have the best upbringing or all these controllables that I can't control, but hitting the gym, by just forcing myself to go on days I don't want to, builds a form of discipline. Looking at yourself in the mirror, knowing how you looked when you started compared to now, and knowing that you had to start hitting the gym, still not seeing any results for 6 months and still having to continue doing that with the belief that it can happen for you. It's a lot the same like in business as well. You know, there's for a long time you're going to take action on things without seeing any results, and yeah, you still just need to do it, you know. this is a good example of some things you can do for like, what do you call this, like hinging or whatever. Like just being on your knees like this is very good for health, you know, when it comes to like your feet. Like you can feel, it's so like me just wearing barefoot shoes, like I can definitely feel how my feet changed and became stronger by, you know, walking more barefoot and being in positions like this, you know. Our feet aren't used to this, and usually our feet used to be able to go over things to a large degree, you know. Now all of our toes, because of normal shoes, are becoming like this, you know. And so by doing stuff like this, hinging like this, sitting like this for a while, you can really feel the pressure on this part of your feet. It's just a really good thing to do. And so I try and do a lot of micro movements like this, and on a macro level, doing micro stuff like this every single day makes a big difference, you know. Day to day you won't really see a big difference, but you know, this is a lifestyle, you know. The goal is not to go for a run, the goal is to become a runner, you know. I'm not necessarily doing this for outputs, although it will become better and I will become stronger and I will feel the difference. But I wanted to move into a position where this is my day to day. This is what I do, you know, is I am healthy like this, or well, not healthy, but like, you know, I live like this. This is what I do now, you know, is I stand like this on trees and stuff. Part of the game, you know, it's part of life. You just need to decide what type of character do you want to be. I decided I wanted to be the guy living in nature, you know, barefoot, making money online, and yeah, with a healthy, beautiful family. That's what I'm pursuing. Alright, so I think I might have forgotten to mention this, but yeah, I drink spring water, natural spring water. So the company's called Thirst. I know it's plastic, okay? I'm against plastic as any other health guy. I know Ancestral didn't have this, but to be completely frank, I just can't afford the glass alternative. And yeah, the main thing is, like, if you just don't put this in the sun, so just keep it in the shade. I know when it transports, like, you don't have control over if it was in the sun or not, but as long as this just doesn't get beamed with sunlight every day, like I buy this in bulk and I just keep it in my cupboard where there's no sunlight. But yeah, this specifically, this company, this brand is the best water that I can found, justifying the price. I went in a previous video where I spoke about just the healthiest diet in general, where I broke this part a bit more down, but essentially the TDS is very high as well, 256. This company is amazing, and their yeah, the water is, in my opinion, very high quality. I really like the water. Throw it in this stainless steel bottle, and I throw some ice in here with some lime or lemon for just some electrolytes as well. And I like the sparkling alternative because it actually makes me enjoy the water. I actually enjoy drinking water, and so I'll go through a bottle and a half like this every single day, which is 2.5 liters combined. So yeah, that's my water. I drink this first thing in the morning before I drink coffee, and I'll sip on this bottle during the entire day. Alright, so eating in accordance with nature is very simple in my opinion. I think the healthiest pillar to health when it comes to eating, you know, is definitely just eating whole foods, you know, and to an extent restricting the amount of food that you are eating. Okay, that's the biggest thing. But if you want to take it a step further, I believe you want to eat whole foods as close to the source as possible, meaning minimal processed foods. Okay, obviously whole foods in of itself will not be highly processed, you know, stuff like olive oil, and you know, it's obviously going to be processed, but I'm trying to stay away from any highly processed foods as much as possible. And as close to the source, meaning if you can get it in its rawest form, like raw yogurt, raw milk, raw dairy, for example, meat, and the quality of meat also plays a big role, you know. And the previous vlog, you can just go and have a look which one, but I interviewed a local farmer, and he just gave me a rundown of the food quality in South Africa here specifically, but also the difference in quality when it comes to grass-fed, free-range, pasture-raised versus soya grain-fed meat. There's a difference. And also how the cows and the animals operate out in nature. If they're in a high-stressed nature or environment, okay, the nature and the quality of that food is gonna be more stressed, inflammatory, and you're gonna taste that and you're gonna experience that in your food. And so obviously that's a next step. Eating a steak, in my opinion, is better than eating a potential better future grass-fed one that you never eat. Okay, so there's a point where, you know, the 80-20 is just eat whole foods. Okay, if you cannot afford going for the best of the best, you know, whole foods is going to be better than any other type of food. You're not going to get a better Steers burger or something like that. So whole foods, if you're overwhelmed, just stick with that. And yeah, then you can just throw it together, you know. So I also do fasting. I believe that, you know, back in the day with our ancestors, you know, we didn't have access to a lot of volume of food during the day, you know, and I feel very dialed in and focused, when I am fasting, because digesting food is a very energy taxing process in your body. And so if you're not digesting food, you are actually able to then utilize that energy for cognitive function for different things, essentially mimicking the hunt, okay, for the food. Which is amazing. So I really enjoy fasting, and then I break my fast with a high fat, high protein, low carb meal. This is chicken, fermented bread, which is sourdough, and avo with some sea salt. And then I want to show you guys my second meal. I will be eating this in an hour or so, either before the gym or just after the gym. So this is like my fruit bowl. I try and focus on gut health with this meal. High fiber, quick absorbing carbs to either before or after the gym for the glycogen storage. There's also fermented yogurt in here, raw yogurt, which is essentially great for my gut. I try and focus on protein and fiber. That's the two main things I focus on a day to day when it comes to my food. And then in the evening time, I'll eat my heavier meals like my red meat with a lot of complex carbs. Before the gym, you don't really want to eat something like red meat just because it digests a bit heavier. So I'd stick to chicken and fish. And then, big thing for me when it comes to supplementation, I believe we should supplement for the sake of deficiency and not for the sake of just supplementation. I think a lot of people just drink supplements just for the sake of it. I try and supplement first through my lifestyle and my food, and then through supplementation. For example, because it's winter time, I really enjoy drinking vitamin D3 just because, I can't really be in the sun as much as I would like to. And vitamin D3 is, in my opinion, the most important supplement. You can drink that as well with omega-3 fatty acids. I don't eat enough fish. And I really think because our omega-3 to omega-6 fatty acid ratio is so completely screwed in today's day and age, omega-3 is one of the best supplements you can drink paired with vitamin D3. And then also, creatine is amazing. You can't get enough of this in naturally. That's why I'm drinking creatine. I'm drinking 15 grams of this a day, by the way. And then magnesium. All three of the magnesiums that you need is in here. Malate, glycinate, and L-threonate is in here. I'm drinking around 250 milligrams of magnesium elemental. You'd want to get around 400, but most of my food tends to have that in, magnesium. So I definitely get more than 400, but I just like to supplement that as well because magnesium is extremely important. And, I do believe that in today's day and age, the soil quality is not as high as it used to be. And so, sometimes you have to supplement for some things because you don't know if it's in the soil or not. And so, that is essentially how I approach my food. And I see it as fuel, and obviously putting in some effort and a bit more financial support behind my food is a privilege. And I really think, it's an honor to be able to do this, and it's a privilege to be able to do this, and I value this highly. I try and pay my respects as much as possible when it comes to the process of making food. Being a part of that, visiting, farmers, getting my milk from the farm, being a part of the process. We get so decentralized from how the food actually gets here that we take it for granted. And so, bringing some importance behind what the animals had to go through to get here, how the actual food got here. Like I've got cacao nibs, coconut flakes, roasted coconut flakes. We don't have coconuts here in South Africa, or it's not predominant here. So how did it get here, Getting the raw yogurt from the farm specifically, talking to the farmer, seeing how the cows are made, being a part of that process in the ecosystem is such a beautiful thing. And being stripped from that in today's modern age, it's just, there's constant pros and cons. And I think there's definitely some importance and some beauty and some magic that got lost when we started systemizing all this stuff. Bringing some attention to that, I think, is very valuable. So I'm very hungry. Let me eat. You experience life through this vessel. Your vessel alters the very existence and the very experience that you are experiencing right now. The type of experience that I have right now is completely different compared to my unhealthy vessel that I had 3 years ago. And that's a testimony to the power of taking control of your health. I think it's supposed to be one of the foundational practices of every single person every single day is to put your health first, because everything else is built upon that. I truly believe so. Let me read something else that I wrote as well. Bear with me while I read this. We do not cultivate a healthy vessel for vanity or praise, but a sacred duty to serve our mission with strength, clarity, and purpose. Train not for one virtue alone, but for the harmony of all. Let strength guard you, agility carry you, flexibility free you, and endurance sustain you. That is a testimony, essentially just something I wrote. You shouldn't be training just for strength, linear gym, hitting the gym, becoming big, okay? Because then you're not agile, you're not flexible. You want a balance of all those things. For he who seeks mastery in one domain may triumph for a moment, but he who trains across all becomes timeless, becomes free. And that's a big thing, it's like you don't just want to be extremely good in just one domain of your life. This can definitely be a metaphor for most things, but I think be careful. Most of us tend to start hitting just the gym to just get big, but you don't want to become like just big, just the big gym guy. You want to be agile, you want to be flexible, you want to be able to move your body. You don't want to get at 35 or 40 and just get like, I already have like shoulder problems, stuff like that, and lower back issues. Okay, that was before the gym. But when you go overboard in one domain, you tend to compensate by destroying different parts of your life. So yeah, I think having a balance in all aspects of physical movement is extremely important. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on that. We want to essentially stay away from this like goodness. It's mimicking the daylight. Okay, this blue light, which is from the screens, just normal light like that. You want to avoid that because the light, it mimics the midday sun. And essentially that's like that line information is coming into your eyes and essentially telling your body to wake up or to stay awake. Okay, now we want to obviously not do that. So this light, that comes from the sunrise, sunset, the more like reddish, orange, yellow light, that essentially obviously tells our bodies now, or the light in our eyes, the light comes through our eyes and tells our body, yo, relax, okay, let's start making some melatonin, okay, let's get sleepy. And firelight, candlelight, red light, all these stuff essentially just mimics that. It's much easier on the body. It allows us to really fall asleep and get sleepy and tap into that melatonin. If we are working on our computers or in our phones, which is inevitable, I highly recommend to get one of these glasses. Absolutely amazing. That's what I see. It really helps a lot. As soon as I've been using it, I've been falling asleep in front of my laptop at night, which is amazing. Red light, ladies and gentlemen. This is how the room looks. So as soon as the sun sets, everything that I work in or around or on turns red or orange. The glasses are off because the room is already red. What a privilege. And so small 2 cents for anyone looking to really optimize their sleep. Okay, I got a module explaining this and breaking this down fully in my school community, Founders Acquisition. I think it's module 1.4, but it's literally all about sleep. It's an hour-long way in detail break this down. But essentially all you want to do is you want to make sure that your body gets cooled down and drops temperature by 2-3 degrees. You want to take a hot shower before you go to bed. You want to make sure your room and your bedding is cool. Okay, you want to drink hot tea, preferably like some chamomile or rooibos tea if you're in South Africa, with some honey. Okay, honey is great. Like a simple carb before bed, not to spike your blood sugar, so like honey is perfect. You want to eat 3 to 4 hours before you go to bed, so you preferably want to be already finished with digestion while you get into bed, so your body doesn't have to digest and only focuses on recovery, rejuvenation, sleep, and not digestion. The blue light is very important. You can try something like magnesium before you go to bed. That's also amazing. Magnesium glycinate. And then also you need to actually do something during the day. So go and train hard and work hard and get your body in a position that it actually needs sleep. Okay, that's a big thing. A lot of people struggle to fall asleep, but they just don't do anything. So if you really train hard and your body needs sleep, well, it's gonna fall asleep. And then lastly, you want to preferably want to go to bed on the same time and wake up at the same time every single day to just optimize your sleep-wake cycle. So that's the biggest things. Then obviously sunlight in the morning to set your circadian rhythm. Then you'll be able to fall asleep easily. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. As we are moving into sunset, I would really like to close off this video by re-emphasizing just the importance of simplicity. Okay, this entire lifestyle has taught me a lot about myself and just about the modern life in general. I truly think this is not about implementing new things, buying new things, waiting for the new and better pharmaceutical thing to come out and for new technology to improve our lives. In fact, I think it's all about removing the unnecessary and focusing more on the things that is free and that is God-given. and that is our privilege. You know, I think the Lord made us to, you know, take care of the land and of the animals. And yeah, there's a lot of beauty in the simplicity that comes with living in accordance with nature. And so I want to encourage you, if you're feeling like the modern day today is getting you down, you're feeling anxious, depressed about everything, and, you know, just stressed out about life and work in general, I want to encourage you to take a step back and to move back to nature. Try a couple of these protocols and things that I did today. Let me know how that goes and if that improves anything. And if you want any hands-on help, I do have a school community in the description with 2,900 people where I break down all these protocols much more in depth. Obviously there, you know, I got 2-hour modules on one specific topic, you know. So yeah, obviously, yeah, we're only spending like 20-25 minutes together. So there, I break down everything in depth. There's 2,900 other people getting a lot of value from that, or at least at the time of this recording. It might be more right now. So yeah, thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.